Next, static method in an interface. So before JDK 1.8, we don't have a static method and default method in interface. So that interface only can have a constant data member and then abstract method. Before JDK 1.8, the interface can have only constant data member and then abstract method alone. But from JDK 1.8, they have introduced two methods. One is a default method, another one is static method. So in the default method, the default is just a keyword, that is not an access specifier. That is not an access specifier. And then static method. So next, we will see the default method is already over. So next we will see static method. So in that static, so the static method is also introduced in JDK 8. So JDK 8 added another new capability to interface, the ability to define one or more static method. So that interface can have one or more static method. So like static method in a class, a static method defined by an interface can be called independently of any object. So for calling a static method, we no need to create object. So for interface, we cannot create object because that interface, all the methods, the interface have abstract method. So by default, that interface is abstract. So we cannot create object. So by using class name, we can call the static method. So like by using interface name, we can call the static method. By using interface name, we can call the static name. So thus, no implementation of the interface is necessary and no instance of the interface is required in order to call a static method. So by using interface name, we can call the static method. So instead, a static method is called by specifying the interface name followed by period followed by the method name. So how we are calling means that interface name and then dot operator and then the static method name. And then this is an example for an interface with the default method and the static method. So this is an example for interface with the default method and the static method. So in this default method, I have just printed interface default method. In the static method, I have printed just the interface static method. So now this is a class. So that class implements that interface. So that class implements that interface my data. So this is the interface my data. This my data interface have one default method and static method. So in main function, here I am creating object for this class which implements that my data interface. So here I have created object for this class interface as static method, default method. So then that is going to be stored here. So now this default method can be called by using object and dot operator. The static method we can call by using interface name and dot operator. So this default method we can call by using object and dot operator, and then static method can be called by using that interface name and dot operator. Okay, but we cannot call the default method by using class interface name. We can only call the static method by using an interface name, and the static method also can be called by using object dot operator. You can also call static method by using object dot operator and then interface name dot operator. But the default method can only call by using object and dot operator. So finally, I will get output interface default method interface static method. So up to JDK 1.7, that interface can have only constant variable and abstract method. And from JDK 1.8, that interface can have a constant member, a constant variable, abstract method, default method, static method. So we have seen a default method and static methods. And now from JDK 1.9, they have introduced two more methods, that is a private method, private static methods. So from JDK 1.8, that interface can have constant variable, abstract method, default method, static method, private method, and private static method. Okay, so this is an example for a private method. Here I have an interface, my interface in Java 9. I have an interface, my interface in Java 9. So within that interface, I have two default methods. The first method name is method 1 and second method name is method 2. And then I have one private method. I have private method. Actually, here this private is the access specifier. Actually, here the private is the access specifier. So I can access this method only within this interface. I cannot access this method from outside of this interface. This private here here is this private is telling the access specifier of that method. So the access specifier of this method is private. So I can access only within this interface itself. I cannot access this method from outside. So then how can I call means, for here I have created one class, a Java example, that implements that my interface in Java 9. So now this class implements my interface in Java 9. So here I have a created object for the Java example class. So by using that, I'm calling the method 1. Now from method 1, I'm going to call the private method. From method 1, I'm going to call the private method. So within that interface, I'm calling that private method. So now control will come to here. So then it will print the starting method and then doing something. After that, control will come to here. So then it will print this is method 1. So and when this function is get over, then control again will come to here. So next it is going to call the method 2. From method 2, I'm going to call the same private method. So now again it will print a starting method, doing something, and then it will print this method 2. So after that, control will come to here. So this is the output of this program. So the interface can have a private method, but that private method can be accessed only within that interface. So how can we access the interface means, how can we access the private method means from default method, we can call the private method. The interface can have a default method and static method. From default method, I can call the private method. Can I call this private method from static method? Interface can have up to JDK 1.8, interface can have a default method and static method. No, from JDK 1.9, they have introduced the private method. So I cannot call this private method outside of that interface. I can call only within that interface. So from within that interface means from default method, I can call this private method. Can I call this private method from static method? Can I call this private method from static method? Anyone unmute and tell me, ma? Anyone unmute and tell me, ma? You understand? Why I cannot? Yes, super. I cannot call this private method from static method. Even the static method is inside of that interface. I cannot call the private method from static method. Why? What is the reason, ma? Anyone tell me the reason?
No object. It is not real. No object declaration has no use with the static method. So, by declaring an object, we cannot call that function.
Okay, that is also correct. But from a static method, we can access only static member data and we can access only static method. From static method, I can access only static member data and I can access only static method. So this private method is not a static method, no. So that's why I cannot access it from that static method. Understood, Abba? Got it, Amma? From static method, we can call only static, we can access only static member data and we can only call the static method. But this private method is non-static, so that's why I cannot call that private method from static method. So that's why one more method was introduced, that is a static private method. So one more method was introduced, that is static private method. So that method can be called from default method and also from static method. Understood, Abba? Say yes or no, ma? Say yes or no, ma?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that's why.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, thank you. So next, that's why in next method that was introduced in Java 9, that is a private static method. So this method can be called from default method and also it can be called from static method. So here I have two method, static method 1 and then static method 2, and then here I have a private method, and then here I have a default method. This is a private static. These two are static method. Method 1 and method 2 are static method, and then this private static. This is a private static, and here this is my methods. That is a default method. So here I have created one class called Java example that implements my interface Java 9. And within that, I have created object for Java example. So from that, I'm going to call the default method. So control will come to here. From default method, I can call the static method. So first, I'm calling the first static method M1, method 1. So control will come to here. Now from this static method, I can call the static private method, private static method. So that's why next control will come to here. So then it will print then it will print a starting method doing something. After that, control will come to here. So this is method 1. So this will be printed. So after that, this method 1 is get over. So control again will come to here. So then, control will come to here. Control will come to here. So next it will call the method 2. So in that method 2, again I'm calling the print line. So the print line is the private static method. So from the static method, I can call the private static. So it will print a starting method doing something. So after that, it will print this is a method 2. So then control will come to here. So now this function is over, get over. So again control will come to here. So that's why this is the output of this program. Ma, understood, Appa? Say yes or no, ma? Say yes or no, pa?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, pa. So that's all your interface concept. I forgot to tell the command line arguments. Pa. I forgot to tell the command line arguments. Ma, what is command line arguments in C++? Pa? What is command line arguments in C++? Which is called command line arguments, ma, in C++?
Ma'am, for the main function, we pass an argument.
Super, pa. Very good. We can pass argument to main function. So that is called a command line argument. Ma. So pass information into program. When you run it, this is accomplished by passing command line arguments to main. So here, pa, actually this is a PDF, so I cannot mark anything. Ma. So here for this org I can pass some values. Can I highlight? I thought. Okay. Draw it. Okay. Now for this org, I will change the color. Highlight text. For this org, we can pass some value, that is in main function. No, this is in main function. So this is called a command line argument. So for that, string is a class that have a method. So string is a class that have a method. So that method is called length. So that will array. Here array. This is string have a method. So that method is a length. So that will return the length of that string. So here this is an array. Array have one data member. The data member is length. That string, that is member function. String have one member method that is also called length. So that is what is the purpose of that one means that will give the number of character in that string. Now here this length is a data member of array. So this will tell how many number of elements are there in the array. So this will tell how many number of elements are there in the array. So if I am passing 3 arguments, so this length will return 3 value. If I am passing 4 arguments, then this length will return 4. So here I will show you an example. Now I am executing this program. For execution, what I have to use? I have to use Java. And then what is this class name? Command line. So I have to use command line for execution. So Java command line. I'm executing this program. And then how many number of arguments I am passing means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So how many number of arguments I am passing to this main function? I am passing 6 arguments to this main function. So this is that is considered as one argument, and is considered as one argument. A is considered as one argument, and test 100 minus 1. So totally 6 arguments I am passing. But in your C++, have you remember this execution file name? This executed file name is also considered as one argument. Have you remembered that? Say yes or no, ma? In command line arguments, we are mentioning that file name, no? So that is also considered as one argument in C++. Have you remembered? Say yes or no, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Because most of them are not get practice with command line arguments. So no problem. But in C++, that executed file is also taken as one argument. But here, from after that file name only, that is taken as the argument. So this is a test. So arg0. So here that arg0 have value. Now here what I am printing? I am printing that arg0, arg1 up to this length. No, so length is nothing but 6. So that is 0 to 5. 0 to 5. So first I am printing arg0. So what arg0 means? That is this. And then next I am printing arg1. So that is and then next I'm printing arg2, that is A. So arg3 test, arg400, arg5 minus 1. And next, command line argument you understood, command line argument you understood,
Ma'am,
Yes,
for any general array, we will allocate memory using new operator, no ma'am. Here, new operator is not needed, ma'am.
No needed, ma'am. Here, no needed. And then always you can pass only string argument only. Always you can pass only string argument. You cannot pass any integer, floating point, any type you cannot pass. Even if you are passing, that is considered a string. So after that, we have several functions to convert from string to integer, string to float, string to double. That are all integer.parseInt. So integer.parseInt that will convert a string to integer. So we will see that and all later. And then double.parseDouble. So that is converted to string to double. So whatever the type you have passed for this main function, that is taken as string only. So you have to convert, after that you have to convert a string to integer or string to double, whatever you want. Got it?
Yes.
This Java command line, no, ma'am, while giving that, is that an user input or is that some memory, ma'am? This is a test 100 minus 1.
It is a user input only, ma. So usually how will you compile the program, ma? Usually how will you compile Java file name, no? After that, you won't give anything. Usually, you will compile Java file name. So, after that, whatever you are giving, that is going to be taken as argument for that main function, ma. So, shall we see one example program, pa? Shall I execute one example program? Wait. A command line argument. The screen is visible, apa? This is everything is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Someone is unmuted, ma. You check it by yourself and mute yourself. I'm going to save this program with the name command line, because the class name which contains main function, but name is a command line. So I'm going to save this program as command line.java. So where I have saved my program, I have saved my program in E:/CD Java program. So actually, I'm not setting this path in that environment variable. So for Java C, now I have to set the path. So set path Java C path equal to Java, C:/Java program files, Java JDK up to bin we have to set. So now I'm going to compile this program, Java C command line argument, command line.java. Now, usually how we have compiled the program by using only class Java and then class name. Usually we are giving only this Java and then class name. No? So after this, if I am giving some string, so this is considered as a first string and this is considered a second string. So now how many number of arguments I am passing to that main function? 4 arguments. So first argument is A, second argument is B, third argument is C, fourth argument is D. So even if I am passing integer value, that is taken as string. Okay. Now what it is printing means, it is printing length. First what I have printed here. So here I have print the length. So length. Here what I am printing, first I am printing the length. So what is the length? How many number of arguments we are passing? A is one argument, B is one argument, C, D 34. So totally 5 arguments. So that's why it is printing. That's why it is printing length 5. So after that, within that for loop, I try to print that each argument, that is arg0, arg1, arg2. So arg0 is A, arg1 is B, arg2 is C, arg3 is D, arg4 is 34. Understood, Amma? Understood, Appa?
Yes, ma'am.
So here
Yes, ma'am.
all the arguments are the string only, but you want to convert this arg4, that is an integer, no? You want to convert this arg4 to integer, now we have to use one special function called integer.parseInt. Integer.parseInt that will convert a string to integer data type. So we will see that later. Okay, so now for command line argument, we can only pass string as the argument. Okay, Mama. So next, variable length argument. The next one is a variable length argument. Variable length var. So it is simply called as a var args. So beginning with the JDK5, Java has included a feature methods that need to take a variable number of arguments now. So this was introduced from JDK5. So by using this, we can get variable number of arguments. So we will see one example, then it will be clear. So this feature is called var args, and it is short for variable length arguments. So it is called as variable arity method or simply var args method. So variable length argument is specified by 3 periods. We have to give 3 dot. Here int v means now for these v, if I am just giving int v, means I can get only one integer value for this argument. If I am giving just the int v means I can get only one integer value for that variable v. But if I am giving a dot v means I can get more number of values. That we can get more number of values. So it is going to act like an array. So array only can have more number of elements. So now this when I am using this dot v, so now this v is going to be act as an array. It's look like an array. So we can pass any number of argument to this value. So v is implicitly declared as array of type int. So what is the meaning of this? The implicit meaning is array of type int. And we will see one example. So here I have a class called var arg1. So within that I have one method, a static method. Within that I have one static method va test. So within this function I am passing var argument. So variable argument means for this v I can pass any number of values. So that means now this v is going to be act as an array. Okay, so this is a for each for loop tail. Within that I am printing the length of that array, and then by using for each for loop I'm going to print the content of that array. So here I'm going to print the content of that array, and then next here is a main method. From main method without creating object I can, so all these function main method and va test, all these functions are within the same class var args1. So I no need to create object, or I no need to use class name to call the static method. Okay, so I can directly call the static method. And now for first function call, I am passing only one argument. So now for this v, only one argument is passed. So what is the length of this v means? The length of that v is the number of argument is, that is 1. First what I am printing, number of v dot length. So for first function call, what is the length of that v? So length of the v is 1. And then I am going to print the content of that array. So that's why here it is just simply print that string content. So after that, by using for each for loop, I am going to print the value. So that is 10. So that value is 10. After that, for this function call, how many number of values I am passing? I am passing 3 values, 1, 2, 3. So now this v is going to have 3 values. V of 0 is going to have 1, v of 1 is going to have 2, v of 2 is going to have value 3. So v of 0 have value 1, v of 2 have 2, and sorry, v of 1 have 2, v of 2 have 3. So now it will print the number of argument, the length is 3, and then it is going to print the content, that is by using for each for loop it is printed. So that is 1, 2, 3 is printed now. So next time I am calling the function without any argument. So I am calling the function without any argument. So what is v dot length? So v dot length value is 0. So the number of argument is 0, and then it will print the content, but it cannot get into this for loop. So that's why nothing is printed here. Got it, Amma? Var args understood, Appa? This is introduced from JDK5. Understood, Amma? Say yes or no, Appa?
Yes, ma'am.
So here we can use this var argument. This var argument should be end of the last argument. So this var argument should be last argument as similar in our default argument in C++. So we can give default argument only at the end of the argument. Have you remembered that in C++? Have you remembered that the default argument concept? But this is
Yes, ma'am.
totally, okay, thank you, ma'am. So this is totally different from default argument concept. But in that default argument, we have to mention the default value only at the end of the argument list. So here also, this var argument can be at the end of the argument list, ma'am. So this is okay. In between here, int a, int b, and then I try to give double d, then one more argument int b, that is wrong part. Okay, but this here also this is also wrong, ma'am. We have to give only one. We can give only one var argument in a function. Default value more than one default value is possible in C++. More than one default value is possible, but here var arguments it should be one. That should be at the end of the argument list. Understood, Appa? Understood? Say yes or no, pa? Not understood.
Understood, ma'am. Understood.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Here, one example I will show you. We have to use this var arg very carefully, otherwise we will get an error. So I will show you an example. So here I have created one class called var arg1. Within that I have one static method. So for the static method I am passing that var args. Now I have one more var args with the same name, va test, but here this var arg type is boolean. There that var arg type is int. So now for first function call within main function, for first function call, this will go to the first method int var arg. Now the second will call the second boolean var arg. Now this, if I am simply call va test, this will call which method? This will call which method? First one or second one? So here an ambiguity. So we will get an error. So reference to va test is an ambiguous error, int or boolean type. So we will get an error like this. Reference to va test is ambiguous error, int or boolean type. Understood, Amma? Understood, Amma? Say yes or no, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Like va test int v and then int a, int v. If two function definitions are there, like this means when I am passing va test to 1 means that time also I will get an error. That time also I will get an error. Okay, that's all command line arguments and
one argument thing can call no, ma'am. First one static void va test int dot v. Why ambiguity, ma'am?
Here, if I am passing va test to 1 means the second one is int a and then int dot v. So for this int dot v, it is taken as a 0 argument, but for this int a, it is taken as 1. So now again ambiguity to go to which function call. Understood? For this v, I can pass 0 argument also. So now if I am passing 1, it may go to this or may go to this. Again, some confusion is occurred.
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Okay. Actually, this we won't use this type of syntax int a, int v, because this itself an array. We won't use the same data type. But some different data type, that time we will get an error. Okay, Mama. Okay. So shall